Welcome to Stache Sports episode 41. That's a lot of episodes so far. I don't know anyone in the Pittsburgh sports that wore number 41, but that's a lot of episodes. It's really cold out here, one of the wildest winters in Pennsylvania, but I like the snow a lot better than I like the heat. I like going outside when it's cold and bundle up and not be sweating a lot. But anyway, talking about hot, the Steelers are starting to heat up and get their new coaching staff in order before the season starts. Like I said yesterday, the Steelers hired Brian Angelico as our new offensive coordinator, but had experience with Mike McCarthy as a tight ends coach of the Packers. He recently was the Minnesota Vikings passing game coordinator and tight ends coach. And we saw what happened last year when they had Sam Darnold in there. And Sam Darnold turned around his career, and now he's in the Super Bowl with the Seahawks and got a big payday after turning around his career, because when he was with the Jets and before that, he looked like he could be a career backup, but he turned around his career, and that could be helped by Brian Angelico. I also like what I heard about Brian Angelico being all football 24/7 and being always in the office, never at home. That's going to be good to try to help develop these young quarterbacks and hopefully these tight ends. Hopefully, since he's a tight ends coach, it could help Johnny Smith, Pat Freiermuth, and Darnell Washington. Pat Freiermuth we signed last year to a decent contract, but I don't think he really lived up to all the hype from last year. So let's hope hiring Brian Angelico can help with that hype, and he can do better in this new system underneath Mike McCarthy. Even though Mike McCarthy calling plays, I really do like Brian Angelico, and I think he could be a good mentor and help with Mike McCarthy's plays in our offense. But we will see what happens to that. Also, we hired Patrick Graham as our defensive coordinator. And like I said before, I know he didn't have that much to work with in Las Vegas, but Patrick Graham might be good. A lot of the stuff I've been hearing from the media, I've been liking more about Patrick Graham. He's going to be calling the plays, which the Steelers haven't had that for quite a while, because as we all know, Mike Tomlin, even though our defense coordinator last year, Terrell Austin, we had Terrell Austin. A lot of people believe that Mike Tomlin, since he was a defensive coach, was calling the plays, which I believe too. But we have one of the highest paid defenses, so let's hope Patrick Graham can help mentor this defense around and turn them around. We also retained our quarterbacks coach, which is good because he was the quarterback coach last year, and a couple other staff members that I'll get to on later in other videos. We also hired Steve Shakira, chief of staff. I don't remember the last time the Steelers had a chief of staff. Maybe they've had one before, and I don't know what his job descriptions are going to be, but it'll be interesting to see. They also hired Danny Crossman, that used to be the special teams coordinator for the Dolphins and has tight end experience. Let's hope this can help. It's going to be a hard time not seeing Danny Smith on the sidelines after all this years chewing all the gum. He'll be doing all that in Tampa Bay. Good job for Tampa Bay getting a good special teams coach. But what Steve Crossman can do, Chris Boswell and our punters and our special teams. Let's hope he can help have the special teams do good last year, and maybe he'll also help with the tight ends. Like I said, we need our tight ends. We need our tight ends to do good and show up. Like Pat Freiermuth, we need to have a good year this year and show why we paid him all that money a couple years ago. We need Darnell Washington to have another good year like he was before he broke his arm. And maybe Johnny Smith, if we keep him this year, he can wake up and do something. Last year when we traded for him, everybody thought that was going to be a decent trade, but he didn't. I don't think it really lived up to all the hype. He did have a couple of good games. We had a couple of decent plays to help, but he needs to be more productive, in my opinion. They also hired Joe Woods Jr., that used to be the Washington Commanders, the Redskins defensive coordinator, did something with the defense as their assistant head coach and secondary coach. And I heard Joe Woods Jr. is a good secondary coach, so that's good. The Steelers need a good secondary coach because they need someone to help Joey Porter Jr., Jalen Ramsey, and all the secondary become really good. So the receivers are covered and we don't get beat by a big play on defense. So let's hope Joe Woods Jr. can do that. They also had Damonte Pico as defensive line coach. But then, and he has tight end experience, and he has experience as a tight end coach as well, a TE coach as well. But the interesting about Pico is Pico used to be an ex-Bengal player, and we all know the Steelers and Bengals have a mean rivalry. It's interesting to see Pico on the Steelers sideline, which should be good. Have a young defensive player that used to play the game be our coach for those young guys behind Cam Hayward, and hopefully can coach him up and they can bounce off ideas behind him. But I think that's a good hire. He's a young guy. He's up and coming, even though he used to be a Bengal. But he can help the Steelers defense because he's a good player and can help these younger players mold into good players like Cam Hayward. And last but not least, we hired Pat Riley as our defense quality control coach. And those has experience. And yes, I know a lot of these hires are from Mike McCarthy's tree. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Steelers can. And I know the new coach is going to bring in a lot of his players, especially if they're an older coach like Mike McCarthy. If an older coach like Mike McCarthy, I know he's going to bring in his own guys. I do like how we brought in the offensive line coaches and stuff. We also hired Raymond China Young as our running backs coach. Our old running backs coach, Eddie Finker, went to the ex-Ravens, so now he's no longer a coach to us. He went to our rival. Eddie Finker went to the Ravens. But now we have China Young as our running backs coach. I think he might have worked underneath Mike McCarthy too, but it'd be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And I know a lot of these people are Mike McCarthy's friends, but we'll see. Hopefully he's not too attached to them. If they're not doing well, it can move on with him if they don't move on from him if we don't do well. But it's an interesting time as a Steelers fan. The Pittsburgh Steelers also, like I said, hired James Kaplan as their offensive line coach, who worked under Mike McCarthy. So far, I like this staff. It'll be interesting to see. And like I said, it kept Tarm our quarterback coach, and a couple other staff members so far. There's still more staff members I think might need to be hired, so we'll talk more about that again later. But so far, I'm really liking the staff hires. Tonight, the Pittsburgh Penguins play against the Buffalo Sabres, and they're coming off a loss against the New York Islanders 2 days ago. Tonight, I think Arthur Sheeloff might be in goal. Let's hope that's the case, because the Penguins need to win tonight and need to get back on the win before the NHL freezes. Before Wednesday, February 25th, when they come back after the Winter All-Star break. After the Winter Olympics. Yesterday, we had a big trade in the NHL where Parman, however you say it, from New York got traded to the Los Angeles Kings or whatever. That's a good trade. I might have wanted for the Penguins, but they were going to get him a contract. I think he's a little older, but that's a decent trade. And then there's also a minor trade before the NHL freezes today. But tonight, the Penguins take on the Buffalo Sabres, who are hot right now in the hockey world. And let's hope they can win. Let's hope they can win. I think Crosby's going to win. I think Crosby's going to score. I think Malkin's going to score. But I think the Penguins bounce back after 2 tough losses and get on a winning track before Crosby and them go play in the Winter Olympic Games. Also, I forgot to talk about the new Steelers hire, but I just saw the Steelers are rumored to be hiring Texas Tech outside linebackers coach for the same position. That's a young coach. Let's hope he can do the good thing for outside linebackers. I don't know much about him. But let's go back to NHL. Sorry for the little off subject. My picks tonight are Pens over the Buffalo Sabres. Like I said, I think Crosby scores, I think Kendall scores, and I think we get another goal. Hopefully they look better. And hopefully whoever the goaltender, the Steelers Skinner or Arthur Sheeloff, they play better tonight. And don't let up easy goals like Steelers Skinner let up near the end to tie the game and make it go to overtime when the Penguins need to do a lot better in overtime no matter what the season is. The Penguins' record in overtime is not good this year, and they need to revamp that and learn how to get better on that, even though it's a golden goal. But let's hope they can win tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. I got the Vegas Golden Knights over the Los Angeles Kings because the Vegas Golden Knights are a lot better than the Los Angeles Kings, I think, this year, and I think they win, even though it might be a good game. I got the New York Rangers over the New York Islanders since they beat the Penguins and looking decent, even though I don't want them to win because I want them to not get points. I think they might be the Devils because the Devils are on a slump this year, but we'll see. I got Carolina over the New York Rangers because the Rangers aren't doing so good with new coach Sullivan, but I used to coach the Penguins. He's not looking good again like he was near the end of the Penguins' career, but I think the Carolina Hurricanes are looking a lot better, and I think they win. I think the Sens over Philly, the Caps over Nashville, and the Panthers over Tampa. Florida battle. That's going to be interesting. Both of the teams are looking for playoff spots. The Panthers are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, but right now are on the outside looking in on how the season's going, but still have a lot of season left to turn it around. But let's hope the Penguins can win tonight and get back on the winning tracks against the Buffalo Sabres. We need to get 2 points tonight and go with a 2-point lead and get 2 points and have a nice cushion going into the winter break, because and not be on the losing track going into the winter break. But Crosby will go to Team Canada, and a couple other Penguin players will go to their respective teams. I don't think we have anybody on Team USA from the Penguins, but I'll be talking more about that in a later video when we talk about the Winter Olympics. Today at 3 p.m. was the NBA trade deadline for the 2026 season. The Warriors sent Kuzma and Buddy Hield to the Hawks for Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis used to be on the Boston Celtics, but the Boston Celtics had to get rid of his contract because of the cap. Because it's not like baseball, NBA had a salary cap, and they needed to move on from him due to money restrictions. Let's see if this is going to be good for the Warriors. KP was okay when he was healthy for the Boston Celtics, but that's a big if. KP always is not healthy and sometimes gets hurt a lot. So if Kristaps Porzingis can stay healthy, it might be decent for the Celtics. But also Steph Curry's getting a lot older, and so is Draymond Green. So I don't know. In the West, it's a lot more competitive, I think, than the East is this year. So I don't know how good of a trade this is, but it might be good for the future if Kristaps Porzingis can stay healthy and they can re-sign him. So I think he's on a contract here this year. The Lakers got Luke Kennard. And Atlanta gets Gabe Vincent and 2 second-round picks. Luke Kennard is a good center. Might be able to help the Lakers and LeBron James in that system and help with depth. The Lakers are decent in the West, but I don't know who's going to win the West. I think Oklahoma City and San Antonio are the teams to beat right now in the West. But they're looking really good. But I don't know if that's going to help the Lakers. Memphis gets Ayo somebody and Julian Phillips from the Bulls, and the Bulls get Rob Dillingham and Leonard Miller. I really do think the Bulls are starting to tank and looking for the future. I don't think the Bulls are going to be competitive this year in the Eastern Conference after these trades. I think they are starting to look for the future, but that could predict it offset. I don't know. The Knicks get Dylan Terry and 2 second-round picks. And the Pelicans trade Jose Alvarado to the Knicks. And the Pelicans get Darren Taylor and 2 second-round picks. Indiana gets Zubaka and Kobe Brown. And Benedict Mantha and Jackson go to the Clippers. That's been a wild NBA trade deadline today. But a lot of people thought big names might be moving around, like John Morant from the Memphis Grizzlies, but he stayed put. He's not going anywhere. And also, the biggest one, the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. A lot of people thought Giannis Antetokounmpo was going to be moving around and going to a different franchise and play for a different team this year, but he will not be going to a different team. He'll be staying in Milwaukee. All these reporters got it wrong. It's kind of funny watching all these reporters get it wrong, but he didn't go anywhere. And but the trade deadline was nothing big. Really, the biggest name for James Harden and a couple other ones that got traded. A lot of these others are cash capitalists are getting a lot of picks later on and years to come, because NBA you can trade picks from years to come. But really, the Celtics looked really good last night. I was surprised because Jaylen Brown didn't play last night, and we didn't have the new guy, Ben Subas, we got from the Bulls. But he looked really good. Derek White had a big night for the Celtics, and the Celtics beat the Houston Rockets easily. It's good to see, Coach. It's good to see the Celtics and keep on winning, even if they don't have Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Our coach is really good for the Celtics and has really looked good. And Brad Stevenson is a good general manager and getting good trades for the Celtics and getting good players while Jason Tatum is out. Let's hope the Celtics can continue their winning ways. But tonight's picks, I got the Cavs. But tonight's picks, I got Detroit over Washington. Detroit's looking like really good this year. They're looking like one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. One of the top teams. Even though the Eastern is wide open, they are one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, which is surprising. The Detroit Pistons are looking really good. It's going to be interesting to see how far they can make in the playoffs when they're looking really this good. Like the Cavs. But I think they're going to beat up the Washington Wizards, because I think the Washington Wizards are taking 2 like the Chicago Bulls, and I don't think they're going to win tonight. I got the Magic over the Nets, so I think the Magic are going to win, even though the Magic have been on a slump. But I don't think they're going to be. I think they're going to be able to beat the New York Nets or Brooklyn Nets. I got ATL over the Jazz. I got Toronto over the Bulls because, like I said earlier, with all these trades, I think the Bulls are starting to tank, and I think Toronto had a better team overall than them right now. But it'll be interesting to see if all these new trades how Chicago does. But I think the trades are more geared for the future. I got Houston over Charlotte. I got the Spurs over the Mavericks because I think the Spurs, like I said, are the second team to beat in the East behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. But we'll see what happens. We got the Mavs over we got the Warriors over the Suns and the Sixers over the Lakers. But we'll see. I think the Sixers win over the Lakers, even though the Lakers looking really good. But we'll see. But we'll see what happens. But we'll see what happens. I like the new Steelers coaching staff so far. I like that they kept some of the coaching from before. It'll be interesting to see how good Mike McCarthy can do his offense. Even though a lot of people think Aaron Rodgers is coming back, I don't know if I want Aaron Rodgers to come back, but I'll be okay with it if he does. I just want him to make a decision before it's too late and before it's near the end of the season like he did last year. But we'll see. I mean, it might be good if he can help mentor people like Will Howard, but I kind of just want to see Will Howard go out and see what he can do. So I don't think this year, besides Fernando Mendoza, this really is NFL franchise quarterback in the draft. So that's why I kind of wanted to see what Will Howard could do. So if we didn't do good, we can get an earlier pick next year for a much more stacked draft class. But we'll talk more about the draft because the scouting combine is coming up soon and other stuff. My friend Robbie wants me to talk more about the NBA draft, NFL draft. But we'll talk more about that later. And we'll also talk more about the Olympics when that starts. And I'll also give you my Super Bowl picks this week. It's going to be an interesting Super Bowl. Hopefully they have good halftime good commercials this year. Those have been lackluster in years past. But we'll talk more about that on Super Bowl Sunday, on Sunday broadcast. But last up, the Penguins can win tonight. I like the Steelers' new staff, even if they are McCarthy's friends and older. And we didn't go in a younger direction like I wanted us to. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how the staff does and how loyal they are to the staff like they were in the Mike Tomlin staff. But I like this hire so far. I like how we have a bigger staff finally and Coach Mike McCarthy like all the other NFL teams are having. But we'll see. It's going to be a hard time. I'm not saying Mike Tomlin on the sidelines, but it's going to be time to take. It's going to be something to get used to. But last up, the Penguins can win tonight. But this is Stache Sports signing off. Thank you for watching episode 41.